Welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm Kathleen Walter. The 2011 U.S. House freshman class has converged on Washington for orientation. Newsmax senior editor David Patton is there and interviewing the members-elect.
Congratulations.
Thanks so much, David.
Yeah, that's awesome. Talking with Newt Gingrich yesterday, he said that he's almost certain the earmark ban will pass in the House, not so sure about the Senate.
Yeah.
What's your expectation? Are we going to see an earmark ban coming out of the House of Representatives that you're now a member-elect of?
We have to have an earmark ban because I think that's one of those things that cause a very negative perception coming from the American public of what Congress is doing up here. We need to have legislation, bills, and appropriations that can stand on their own, and we have to get away from having these tree-hanging amendments that we plug into defense appropriations bills and things of that nature.
Obviously, you're a member of the House. We're hearing on the Senate side that some of the Senate Republicans, Mitch McConnell, Senator Earmark, they seem to be backing away from an earmark ban at this point. It's almost as if they were against earmarks up until the time they had a chance to actually do something about it. Now they're not so sure.
Yeah, and that's one of the things where I think Speaker-to-be Boehner has to definitely sit down with Senator McConnell and make sure that we do have that support on the other side from the Senate, because this is something that is going to be one of those key indicators. Are we trending in the right way for this new 112th Congress and this new agenda that is coming in? Because if not, I'm telling you, 2 years goes by very quick, David, and the American people are not going to forget.
And because they're not going to forget, because we have this volatile election, do you believe that that will encourage Republicans, especially the grassroots conservative Republicans, to actually fulfill what they've pledged to do? Because so often we've seen Republicans who have all the great rhetoric, they come into office and then somehow those pledges get forgotten. Yeah,
well, they better. And one of the things that I told folks during my campaign, I was not out there signing pledges, was that, the oath that I took in office in 1982 as a young lieutenant was the oath that I still would honor, and that was to the Constitution of the United States. And see, the thing is, the American people now know that they own this political process. And if they don't see, results in the right fashion, in 2 years, the people that were just sent up here will be sent home. And when you look at this freshman class in the House is going to make up 1/3 of the House Republicans. So that's a very strong voice, very strong bloc. And we've got to stand together, kind of like the old Greeks and the Spartans with a phalanx. And we've got to make sure that we are not penetrated and not co-opted.
Okay. Now, how about the situation with your chief of staff, or Joyce Kaufman, who's initially going to be your chief of staff? It seemed like the politics of personal destruction. What happened there to her?
Well, it's absolutely right. The left is obviously threatened by me. You saw that in our campaign, and now you continue to see it as we continue on as Congressman-elect and Congress member West. So what they did in order to get to me, they unleashed their machine against Joyce Kaufman, which I tell you something, brilliant political mind, and that's why I wanted to have her up here. She knows so many in South Florida, and you know her as well. So the thing is, what the left actually did was a huge strategic error, because they could have taken her away as a voice in South Florida, a voice for the grassroots, and she would have been up here pretty much so stymied and just focused on being a good chief of staff. But now they have really allowed her to stay down there and focus on other congressional districts where she can rise up the grassroots against. And you're not going to stop me up here in Washington, D.C. But the critical thing is the left is showing themselves to be very racist, very sexist, and misogynistic. Joy Behar, the things that she said on television twice about Sharon Angle, no one came out and attacked her for that. But yet there's a duplicitous hypocrisy and a double standard with the left. You saw that with Juan Williams, what they ended up doing NPR to him. So this is the type of thing that I think the American people are starting to see the left for who they are, and they're rejecting it.
And they also had a lot of criticism of you, all kinds of crazy. You were a member, supposedly, of a biker gang, which was a white biker gang.
The first black member of an all-white,
And then there was this dispute about, or this question, is Representative West going to be in the Black Congressional Caucus? Is he not going to be in the Black Congressional Caucus? It seems like there's a trend here.
Well, there's a trend to try to not focus on me coming up here and being an American statesman and legislator, but really trying to get down into the nationalists and get down into the mudslinging. There are two criteria to be a member of the Congressional Black Caucus. You must be black and you must be a member of Congress. And I think I've meet the criteria.
And then my last question is, there's been so much talk about, are the grassroots conservatives ready, and are they able, and are they willing to negotiate with President Obama on the Bush tax cuts, for example?
Yeah.
One would think, based on the election results, that the real question might be, is he ready to do what he needs
Absolutely
to do?
right. And that was the lesson of 1994. It was not Newt Gingrich changing his principles and values and philosophy of governance. It was Bill Clinton saying, okay, this is what I have to do. And he came off of that left-wing agenda. He came to the middle, and guess what? We had great things. We created a surplus, all because of the right principles and values. The people's house, that's what the House of Representatives is. That's the voice of the American people. And that's why I think everyone needs to understand the huge tsunami that occurred in the House of Representatives means that the American people are not happy with the liberal, progressive, leftist agenda.
But then what if Obama won't back down? What if he won't let those Bush tax cuts be extended?
Then we have got to do the things that we can in the House of Representatives to within the laws of the Constitution and within our powers that the Constitution has granted us to speak out for the American people. And if he chooses to be a rigid ideologue, well, he's going to be a one-term president.
As a former military man, do you look at coming into Washington to be part of Congress and the whole K Street political process as like a special operations in its own sense?
Yeah, I mean there's a sense of coming in and infiltrating inside the lines, and it's a great term that I use, and it's Ronin. It's the masterless samurai, and I think that the sword of the Ronin was to the people, and not to any other entity, not to any emperor or what have you. And that's what I see myself coming here and being a Ronin.